This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy.
Now more than ever, it's important that our society focuses more on our mental and physical health. At Franny's Pharmacy, the team is committed to their community's need of being happy, healthy, and stress-free. Come learn how Franny's Pharmacy can assist you in a clean, professional environment with their expert bud tenders that are excited to educate you about the benefits of their lab-tested, DEA-certified CBD products. Franny's Pharmacy also offers wholesale and franchise opportunities. Visit their website at frannysPharmacy.com, and that's pharmacy with an F, and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Again, that's Franny's Pharmacy with an F.com and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Franny's Pharmacy, putting the farm back into pharmacy. Hello, Jill. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Today was a cooler day in Dallas, Texas. We've had a heat wave that's been over 110 degrees, and it's difficult to even take your dogs for a walk, but it's cooling off. But you're in Denver, which I think the weather's pretty nice there, isn't it? It's not too bad.
It's hot today.
Is it?
Yeah, I went out. So I tried to get out of the office during lunch and walk around the block, and I was like, oh, that's hot.
Well, we were just talking before we started recording about how I was recently in Denver because I had flew into Denver, but drove to Breckenridge for a bachelor party. But while in Denver, I stopped by Jad's Mile High Smoke, and it was a cannabis lounge, which I was not familiar with in the States. I mean, I've done it in Amsterdam, but to actually be in Denver and sit down and consume cannabis with your friends, that was an awesome experience. Have you done that in Denver, or are you familiar with any of those lounges in your area?
I'm definitely familiar, but I haven't been. There's one called Tetra, and I've been to that one, but they just opened a new location. So I haven't been to their new one. But yeah, I mean, it took forever for the regulators to get these up and running and get these licenses and structured and all that. So I'm really excited for the owners of these companies because they're really paving the way for, what is that bar look like for cannabis in the future?
Right. Yeah. Especially coming out of Colorado, which of course was the first state to go adult use in the country. Well, Jill, let's start with you. So, from the research and from what I've gathered online, you're a registered dietitian, a master's in food science nutrition. Where did this passion come from? Why did you get so interested in natural remedies and methods to heal, the human body?
I think it really stems from when I was younger. I was always really interested in healthy eating, and I would read all the magazines, all the health magazines. And I did a stint in Hollywood after college and realized if I stayed in Hollywood, my life was kind of going down the drain. So I was like, I need to make a big change. And I had this epiphany that I wanted to go back to school and become a dietitian and really pursue my passion for nutrition and wellness. And so that's what I did. I quit my job, went back to school, took out so much money in student loans.
Like we all do.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Yeah.
I got my master's, did my residency to become a dietitian, and was excited and really pursuing that path when I lived in California.
Yeah, no, well, hey, I mean, I gotta hats off to you, right? Anybody who pursues what they're passionate about and just rolls up their sleeves, takes on the debt, and, does the work to get to where you're at today is quite the accomplishment. And so, I guess my next question, outside of the passion and how you've pursued your current career path, how have you applied natural remedies, maybe to heal yourself or in even everyday use?
Well, I definitely eat really healthy. It's something, a tenet of mine that I live by. Supplementation and lots of water and exercise are definitely pillars of my life. But I really got into ability and the interest of natural healing and using more Eastern medicine to heal. When I got really sick last year, I had this terrible illness. And instead of going down the road of, traditional doctors, I kind of shunned all of that and found ways in which to heal my body that weren't normal or, kind of typical. And it worked. And I'm 100% better. I think that gave me a lot of courage to kind of move forward and use these methods as kind of like, wellness, wellness for my life.
Yeah. I mean, this is what fascinates me, right? I mean, because we're so conditioned growing up to think a certain way, or to take and consume certain products and ingredients just because we've been told that that's what we should do. And, when someone does something that's a little contrarian or different, right? That maybe humans have experienced, thousands of years ago or whatever, you're revisiting that. And so I'm curious, like what specifically, like what was the illness and how did you go about, treating it using those natural methods that you mentioned?
So I unfortunately got this terrible case of shingles at the end of 2020, which, go figure, a lot of stress and caused by insane stress. But the shingles was so bad in the place, it was like behind my ears and on my head and neck. And I took medicine and it went away. But what didn't happen is it actually didn't go away. And so what it did, the virus embedded itself in all of my nerves in my ears, and it caused vestibular neuritis. And so what that means is that your entire balance, your entire sense of, balance and sense of self within the world is completely off. So I was left with debilitating dizziness. And, I first went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. I was like, oh my God, I'm so dizzy. I started having vertigo, and, this was so rare for me. It turned out that, after a lot of tests and really understanding what was happening, not from doctors, but from me doing a ton of research, this is what I had. And so I went to a physical therapist who had to retrain my brain to utilize my ears for balance. But then also with that, I used ozone gas, which interestingly we use here at Willow to clean cannabis. I use therapeutic ozone in my ears and in my body to start to heal and get rid of the virus that was embedded.
How does that, okay, so this is all new to me. So you're gonna have to bear with me and be patient, because I hear these things, and then of course, if this happens, I'm gonna apply them, right? I mean, this is good information. So ozone gas, is that what you said?
Yeah. So
Okay.
therapeutic ozone gas. So what that is, so ozone is a highly oxidative molecule, right? So it's 3 oxygen molecules and it degrades to oxygen. So when you use it therapeutically, so they have these ozonated breathing treatments you can put it in your ears. You can do these things called UBIs where they actually put it, they like attach a bag to you, a saline bag. They put ozone in there and flood it into your body. So it like, attaches into your cells and oxygenates your body. But what it does is an incredible antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and it like essentially heals you from the inside out.
Got you. Okay, so I appreciate you you explaining that for someone like me who has no idea, but it's fascinating. Really and so okay, so go ahead and get back to it. So you're using that therapeutically for your ears, you said at first, and then was that the only remedy, or were there more?
No, so I used that. Of course, I used pretty intense supplementation and homeopathics. And then I did hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So what that is this huge chamber that you go into and they like zip you up and then they put you under 4 PSI of pressure. So it's like you're going scuba diving, and then you breathe pure oxygen. So what that's doing is it's forcing the oxygen into your plasma at pressure.
Wow.
So you're actually seeing like accelerated healing. And I had terrible brain nerve damage from the shingles. And what that did is it like completely healed everything.
That is incredible. And so how long did that treatment go on? Is that a one-time deal, or do you keep
No.
going in, or yeah?
So I actually ended up buying all the ozone equipment. So I just administer all of this at home. Um, I, but I mean, I suffered from this illness for a year and a half. It took a really long time to heal all these nerves. Like, think of how long it takes for nerves to regenerate.
Right.
So it was that. And then the hyperbaric oxygen therapy I did for, I did many, many, many treatments. It was constant, continuous.
That is incredible. That is okay. So that, and then that eventually, I guess, worked, right? It healed you. And so
it took it took so long. And I had to, I'm like, quick fix, let's get this done. I got shit to do. I got a business to run. I don't have time to be sick. And I still came to work every day, even though I was very ill. And, I had to really understand healing is not linear, one thing, consistency over intensity. And that, like, my body, if I gave my body the tools, it would heal, but I had to be patient, and I'm not patient. So I really had to work on that.
Yeah, you know what? That is the best thing that I've heard, and it relates to me so much recently, that consistency over intensity. I'm in my like almost mid 30s now, right? And I was a wrestler like in college. And so when I go to the gym now, I'm just in my brain thinks like lift the most you can and like go all the way down to your chest when you're doing best bench press. And my shoulder's been damaged already from wrestling injuries, but I re-injured it and injured it more because I'm going down. And what my doctor said is, at this point in your life, you don't need to go all the way down. Just go parallel. Like, you don't, you're not like training for the Olympics, and you're not. So, I mean, I don't know if he's right or whatever, but I'm saying, like, to your point, like just going in every day and managing and being consistent over the intense is really key, especially as we get older and our bodies kind of age and deteriorate,
Yeah. I'm in my early 40s, and that was a big thing I had to learn. It's like, okay, well, I'm not 30 anymore.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of in that mode. I'm learning very, very quickly here. But so, moving on, Jill, also you're an entrepreneur, right? And so I'd love to talk about, the cold press juice company that you started, and then your trajectory and path into cannabis. What led you here today?
Well, I started the cold pressed juice company because, as a dietitian, to get people to be compliant and to listen to health and nutrition advice, it was really hard. It's like you'd give someone an eating plan, you tell them all the things to do, and then back to consistency over intensity. It's like, I didn't lose 10 pounds in 1 week, so I give up. I'm done. So I found it so hard to keep, these personal clients that I had consistent. And I was like, I need a tool. So I developed this cold pressed juice line that had a cleanse associated with it. And this is when cleanses were very big. I was kind of on the upswing of that. And so I developed a cleanse, with a lot of science and nutrition around it. And I ran that company. It was in Santa Barbara and also in Denver. It's really hard to make money off of juices, especially cold pressed juice, organic. In Denver, it's weird. Like, people really value their health and wellness, like working out, but they won't spend the money on, an $8 juice. So I sold some of the assets of that business and then kind of turned them into a distribution company, which I ran for a bit. And then I sold that. And as I was moving away from beverage, I was looking at cannabis because it had recently been legalized. And I was like, okay, well, how can I take my expertise in food and food safety and transition that into cannabis? And so I found that the regulations, the regulators were setting forth in terms of testing for contaminants and pathogens on cannabis. Well, if a cultivator was presented with this, there was no solution. And so one night I kind of had this idea, harebrained idea, to find a way to clean weed and to give cultivators a solution to all this testing that they're required to do. But most importantly is to protect consumers. And so that's what we've done at Willow.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. The first thing I want to ask is, as you mentioned, like, cannabis had just become legal. you became interested as you had sold your companies, you're ready to kind of pivot. Was it purely like, this is really a great opportunity for my area of expertise to kind of add value to the industry? Or was it more like and you had a relationship with the plant as well? Like, did you consume previously, or?
I did. Yeah, I do what I did. I think I started smoking weed in end of high school.
Got you. Okay.
So I've always been a fan. And I really, as an entrepreneur, and it was such a new industry, I was like, I see a huge opportunity. I see a huge opportunity to leverage my skill set. If you had asked me 10, 15 years ago if I'd ever be in cannabis, I'd probably be like, no, but I smoke it. I would never have been like, yes, I do. So I really just saw an opportunity to like do something cool.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So I guess, okay, my first question is the cannabis microbial contamination requirements. When you first entered the space, I mean, what was your response, I guess? Was lack thereof? I mean, what did you see? And then let's talk about that opportunity and how you kind of seized it to what, you've built today, which is Willow Industries.
Well, when I was looking to pivot, a buddy of mine who is a cultivator in Colorado called me and he's like, listen, the state's requiring testing on cannabis and they're trying to get rid of mold and yeast. And he's like, what did you do with your juice line? How did you ensure that consumers were safe? Well, due to FDA requirements, we had to have a kill step. And so I started digging in and
what's a kill step? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's a kill step?
No.
Yeah.
So a kill step is essentially the last step in the process of a consumer good to ensure that there are no pathogens or any sort of contamination in the product. So it's safe to go to a grocery store, essentially.
Got you.
So for instance, like milk is heat pasteurized, unless you buy raw milk. All juices go through some sort of process, whether it's flash pasteurization or high pressure. All of your food goes through a process to ensure that once it gets to that grocery store, there shouldn't be E. coli and salmonella on it.
Right.
So that was required. I did that with my juices and I was looking at the regs and realizing, wow, they actually don't require this. That's so crazy. So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to find a way to invent something for this as a solution.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. And so why do you think, or why wasn't there those type of regulations and requirements? Was it, the federal illegality, or the fact that the industry is so new that this is just kind of something that we're all learning as we go? Like what is your take?
It's a little bit of both. So you don't have federal oversight. So you don't have the FDA regulating. You don't have their requirements that they regulate over food, beverage, agriculture. But also the industry is kind of learning as we go. Regulators on the ground in every state, they're trying to understand how can we ensure that this plant and this product is safe for consumers? Because we don't know.
Right.
It's been, kind of like made it up as we go. So I don't think they were contemplating, okay, there needs to be a kill step because cannabis is contaminated. They were like, well, let's put these rules in place to ensure consumers are protected. But if a cultivator has this problem, we don't know what to do.
Right. No, that makes sense.
That's what I was like.
Well, so let's talk about your patented organic technology. And I think that it kind of comes back to what we discussed earlier, and that's that ozone-based technology. Am I right? Or
yes.
Let's tell us about the process.
Well, it's so weird that ozone has so many. Most people have never heard of ozone, and it really consumes my life. So we use ozone gas, the same type of ozone that I was using therapeutically. We just use it in a different way. So what our machines do is produce ozone from oxygen. So this machine pulls in oxygen, it converts it to ozone through an electrical charge. And then what it does is it floods the drum where the cannabis is, and that's cured, dried, trimmed cannabis. So it's like product that you'd see on the shelf goes into our systems, and it's ozone flows over that and kills anything that's on it, like pathogens. So mold, yeast, E. coli, salmonella, bacteria, aspergillus, which is a mold spore. So it kills all these pathogens on the flower, but it doesn't disrupt any of the medicinal properties. So it doesn't disrupt the trichomes, the terpenes, or the cannabinoids. So you have safe, clean flower when it comes out of the machine. You pass testing and you ensure that your consumers are safe.
Wow. And so how long does the cannabis flower sit in the machine with the ozone gas, killing off those pathogens that you mentioned?
It really depends on how contaminated the flower is. So sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know, but typically our run times are 1 hour to 6 hours, and 6 hours if the flower has high contamination on it. But 1 hour is, using it as a true kill step, ensuring that, that last touch of the product, that there isn't anything on it, that it's safe.
So this sounds like a really effective way of killing off pathogens in this, kill step that you mentioned. What were they doing before Willow existed? How were they cleaning flower?
They weren't. They were either extracting it, because the extraction process would be considered a kill step, because either the extraction method, butane, whatever they're using, can kill the pathogens, or they would have to destroy it.
Well, I've seen like cultivators as of recent that will put it in some type of like liquid soap or something. Like once the flower is cultivated, harvested, they're like putting it in some type of liquid that cleans it and then can be dried. And I don't know. Have you heard of that?
Okay. Yes. So they're probably putting it in hydrogen peroxide.
Okay. That's not good.
No, we see that, it's more of obscure. It's for cultivators that like aren't really serious about safety, because by the way, the hydrogen peroxide doesn't go away. It's still on the flower. You still smoke that.
Right.
So we definitely advise against cultivators doing that.
And all the liquid products have hydro peroxide in it?
No, but if it's a liquid product to get rid of pathogens, that's typically what it is.
So so then am I misspeaking? Is there another, like, would that be another application to clean outside of cleaning pathogens?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can use hydrogen peroxide to clean pathogens. There's also in the industry, irradiation is used to clean flower as well.
Okay.
So some cultivators irradiate their flower, which is, a bit of a harsher treatment.
Right.
Right. And those typically, like ozone, irradiation, and then hydrogen peroxide, are kind of the three methods that are used. Whereas hydrogen peroxide isn't used often. It's more ozone and irradiation.
Got you. And I mean, I just love that, with ozone, you're able to keep the efficacy and quality of the trichomes, like you mentioned, the flavonoids, like all the secondary compounds that you need to really give you that entourage effect when you consume the product. Seems
Exactly.
like a big differentiator. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was when I first started this, I went down a road of another type of technique and it was a disaster. Oh my God, I like destroyed the flower. I was like, oh, I can't do this.
Hey, well, that's what entrepreneurship's all about, right? You have to fail and you got to keep moving forward, learn from it.
Yeah, I did. And I the good news is I got back up and kept going. And I think that's, really a lesson in this industry is like, how hard this industry is. It's so hard. You just got to keep going.
It's crazy. Yeah. And the most resilient entrepreneurs, I would say for sure, are in the cannabis industry. They have to deal with so much. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing I want to talk about, well, a couple of things, Jill, is the new interactive regulatory map that y'all launched recently on the Willow Industries website. And so what I'm going to do now, apologies for those that are just listening and not watching this episode, but I'm going to switch over and share my screen here So we're looking at the mapping microbial regulations map, and just talk us through this, Joe. What is this thing?
Well, this was a labor of love, and it took a tremendous amount of work, because what's happening in the US is that most states are very siloed, and it's all kind of bifurcated regulations. So what you'll see in each state as you scroll over the map are the different types of regulations that they require for testing, and they're all different. So it's really, it's really interesting to see how inconsistent the US is in terms of regulating cannabis and their expectations for cultivators state by state. Some states are super strict. Like if you go, East Coast, Midwest, all those have very strict testing regulations.
Wow, Pennsylvania. Look at
Yeah.
Pennsylvania's list.
Oh
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Pennsylvania has really strict testing.
New York only has 2. It's not bad.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change because they're still adjusting their rules. New Hampshire, yeah, see, the East Coast has pretty intense testing. Now, if you scroll over and go to the West Coast, testing is very lax. California really only tests for aspergillus. Oregon and Washington essentially have almost no testing, which is very concerning because they have, kind of a rich humid environment.
And big markets out there. I mean,
Yeah.
see, Washington.
Yeah. And then Nevada, super strict. Arizona, kind of borders around where California is right now. Colorado, Colorado just implemented aspergillus testing. That just happened a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it's no joke. But it gives people that go to our website, the foundation that we really are educating and helping the industry understand what's happening across the board. You feel like you're in your cannabis bubble wherever you are, and there's just so much happening.
Right. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I'm a visual learner, right? And I love just the visual representation of what you mentioned, like the differences and how there's just this gap, right? And it seems like these states should be kind of working together, or at least with the federal government hopefully stepping in at some point, at least the FDA, to kind of help streamline and make this somewhat consistent across the board would be good. When do you think that'll happen? I mean, how far are we away from at least the FDA recognizing, say, like something like CBD as a dietary supplement? I mean, any movement there?
We're so far away. I feel like they're just starting to scratch the surface on how to understand and regulate CBD. Therefore, with THC, years. But it will come, and that's why I believe all the states are taking a strong stake within the regulatory framework, because they know it's going to happen. And then so it's like prepare for the day.
Right.
FDA involved, because that is no joke.
No, you're so right. I mean, we've said it before. There's been guests that have echoed what you're saying. That is, do the right thing now, follow the regulations at the highest levels possible, because when that day comes, you're going to be playing catch up. You're going to get demolished. I mean, something's going to happen. It's not going to be good, and the ones that did prepare are going to be ahead of the game. Yeah. And that's why they need to talk to people like you at Willow Industries.
They sure do.
To ensure that kill step is in place. See, I'm learning so much on this podcast. Last question as we wrap up is, so what's Willow focused on here in the second half of 2022, and what can we expect from the company in 2023 and beyond?
Well, so we continue to innovate our technology. We are constantly innovating here, and that's certainly a tenet of the company. We are we're continuing to innovate within our WillowPure system. So we have, some really cool upgrades, but also some new technology that we're implementing into the system to make runtime shorter, to make treatments better and more amazing. So, we continue to do a lot of R&D. We're launching, a more robust software side for all of our partners so that they can start to really visualize the data and understand, their machine and how it works within their cultivation. And then, continuing to educate and get systems in the field. I mean, we were hoping to keep cultivators understanding prevention is so important, and be ahead of the curve. Like, don't follow along, be that company that like takes one step forward of consumer safety. And then beyond that, I mean, we're really looking at, again, more robust software solutions for the industry, like in this vein. And yeah, I mean, growing the team. Lots of hiring we're doing.
Nice. Sounds like a lot of exciting things going on. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed talking with you today, Jill. And I think that next time we have you on, of course, we can talk about exciting new updates happening within Willow. But I think we could dedicate even a whole podcast to just other natural remedies and
I would love that.
and healing, methods that I think people would really be interested in. I know I would. So.
Absolutely. I can talk about that stuff all day.
Awesome. Well, hey, where can people find y'all's website and social media if they want to learn more about Willow Industries?
Go to willowindustries.com. We are on we're on all the things. We're on all the social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I think we have a TikTok. So yeah, you can find us, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active and happy to engage.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, don't worry. We'll put those links in the description box for YouTube so that people can find y'all and follow you. But yeah, really enjoyed the conversation. You're super knowledgeable. Let's do it again real soon.
Okay. I love you. Thank you.
Of course. Yes. And thank you all for listening. Bye.